Multitasking. This on? Can you hear me? There's nobody in here. But I am multitasking, so can't really look at the camera because I have things to do. So one of the things um, I wanted to talk about last week when I was on live is domestic violence, and that is because if you view Atlanta Street interviews, which I suppose most of my viewers view Atlanta Street interviews. Lately, there's been this young man on there named CJ, and he has a girlfriend named Heaven. And then his former girlfriend came on there recently talking about, how he to whoop her tail and what. Can you hear me now? Hey, I just said so much too. I said so much in that little 3.5 minutes. Okay, this never dies. So I know my little earbud is working at the very least, but this hinders what I'm trying to do because I am doing things right now and I can't just sit here looking at the camera. Yeah, it works. Okay, so anyway, what I was getting on here to talk about is like I said, oh shoot, well I said a whole bunch, but nobody heard what I was saying. Um okay, Atlanta Street interviews. So most of my followers generally watch Atlanta Street interviews. And this is what brought up this topic. So there is a young fella on there named CJ, and he is abusive to his girlfriend. He is somewhat her pimp, kind of, whatever. And then his former girlfriend called in to discuss how he used to whoop her tail and he broke her jaw or something like that. I don't know. I don't really care about CJ and Heaven's story, so I don't really watch it like that. I just kind of skip through it. Um, Not that I don't sympathize, but well, to a degree, I don't sympathize. I don't know. I'm not for domestic violence and whatnot. Of course, I'm not in support of it, but I do feel like people do to you what you allow them to do. And sometimes people just live in dysfunction, and it is what it is until they get sick and tired of it. So last week when I went live, I wanted to talk about domestic violence, but also today, Troy on Troy's World, he asked, why do women stay in abusive relationships? You know, okay, I want to talk about it, but I also am a little hesitant about putting my own business out there, because it's my personal business. And I don't know, I don't have a lot of followers, so I feel like probably nobody who knows me is going to see this anyway. But you never know. You never know who's watching, right? Um, so I'll share a little bit, but the topic is domestic violence. I looked it up last week while I was live, and it said 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic violence. Now, fellas, if you letting somebody whoop on you, what is wrong with you? You can't just be letting people, man or woman, beat on you. I'm gonna need you to fight back or leave the relationship. Anyway, um, a couple of weeks ago, I was called to jury duty, and when I heard what the case was about, I knew I wasn't gonna be chosen for. I knew I wasn't gonna be chosen for jury duty because I was pretty sure they would feel like I could not be an unbiased party. The case was about a young man who was living near me, but this young man was accused of attempted murder of his ex-girlfriend or his pregnant ex-girlfriend. So they charged him with attempted murder for her and the baby. Of course, she survived. That's why it's attempted murder. She survived and the baby survived. I did not get chosen to do jury duty when we had to we had to raise our little numbers and stuff, if things applied to us, and then we had to get up there and talk about it. So they asked the question, if any of us had experience with domestic violence, and I said yes. I raised my hand, and when I had to get up there and talk about it, I I told them that I had experienced domestic violence personally, and the judge asked, were there any weapons involved? And I said no. And then I said, well, yes, there was. And they were like, what? I said, a knife. And they asked if he stabbed me. I said, well, no, I stabbed him. I mean, I did. I used it on him. So, yeah. So I was not chosen to do jury duty on that case. But I did look back. They found him guilty and he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. 27-year-old fool tried to kill his pregnant girlfriend. And the baby looked just like him. Looked just like him. So, he's daddy. But anyway, so yes, I have experienced domestic violence before. And I'm going to tell my little stories. Actually, I have experienced domestic violence. I wouldn't even consider that domestic violence. They do consider it. I don't know who that is. Should I be offended? That's the question. But anyway, um, I have experienced domestic violence with my first husband. Not gonna get too much into that, but I didn't even realize I was in an abusive relationship until well after the relationship was over. I felt like because I fought back, maybe it was just a fighting thing or whatnot, but I didn't realize it was an abusive relationship. And then with my rebound relationship, that's the one who I stabbed, the rebound. Um, we were actually broken up, and he broke into my apartment and we got into an altercation. He started punching me in my face and in my Felix from Stray Kids face. Anyway, he started punching me in my face. And I had a knife on the couch because I just felt like he was gonna, just in case he bust into my apartment, because I just felt uneasy about the situation altogether. And he did. He came into my apartment and I ended up stabbing him in the side with a small knife. He did survive. I don't think I punctured any major organs or whatnot. The knife was probably, it was a paring knife. It was probably like this big. But anyway, that's my experience with domestic violence. But the question posed was, why do women stay in abusive relationships? They could be dumb and young like me and not realize they're in an abusive relationship. Like you see with the girl Heaven, she's I think she doesn't realize she's in an abusive relationship. She's clueless. My situation wasn't as bad as hers though, because my husband didn't just hit me. He more so would hold me down and I'd be fighting back, like to get free. But he didn't just walk up to me and hit me or punch me. He didn't do that. But it was still abusive. So anyway, um, I don't know if Heaven realizes she's in an abusive relationship. She is young and she may just think this is something they do. Now, personally, when I was going through things with him, I was very private. I had friends, but I wasn't telling anybody what was going on with me. I wasn't telling friends and I wasn't telling family. And somebody, had I said something, they probably would have like, girl, what are you doing? Why are you still with this man? He is abusing you. He used to sexually assault me. Um, yeah, that's what he used to do. So anyway, had I said something to someone, they probably would have told me that that was not okay, even though he was my husband, and that I needed to get away from him. But I was embarrassed, which is another reason. I was embarrassed because I was young. I got married when I was 18 years old. And, it was just one of those situations where I just had to have them. Like, oh, I love this dirty draws, right? So when things start going really bad between us, I was embarrassed. I had a baby by then. What's up, Ruben? I had a baby by then, and I just was embarrassed. I don't know. I felt ashamed to call my family and let them know that I needed help getting out of the situation. Eventually, how did that end? He stole my money. That's how that ended. You know what? Let me tell you what. I've been cheated on. It's my first marriage. I'm in my second now, but in my first marriage, I was cheated on, sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused. But the final straw was him stealing my money. That's crazy, right? Like, I was a waitress. I'm just all over the place. I was a waitress at the time, And I know that that night, one table gave me $100 bill and, whatever else I made, but I know at least, at the very least, I had that $100 bill. That ninja stole my money. And he tried to he swore up and down that he did not steal my money. Nobody else stole my money. What in the world? So after that, that same day, I called my mama and I was like, look, come get me, please. I got to go. Because he had already totaled our car. Was that car in my name? The car was in my name. He had totaled my car like a couple of weeks before that. Found out he had not paid for insurance. So, that was a wrap. Couldn't get another car. And that marriage was a mess, child. But we were young. I was 18, he was 19. And, it was like 4 years. 4 years of mayhem. And then we called it quits. So I really don't hold anything against him in regards to that because we were young and foolish. Hopefully, he has grown as a person. I don't know because we do not communicate. But that's that on that. So, back to the question at hand, the situation at hand. We're talking about domestic violence and why women stay in abusive relationships. Shame. So that was one of the things. Another big thing is love. Women, they loving these men and hoping that things will change. Just trying to stay optimistic. Oh, he's not gonna be like this forever and da da da. And you know how men will do? Go upside your head and whatnot, and then bring you some flowers or, put it on you real good. Just, oh, I love you so much. Love bomb you after they bop you upside the head. That confuses people because, like, sometimes some women have a hard time holding on to what has been done to them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they forget. You make them forget when you make them feel good about the good parts. They forget about being bopped upside the head. So that's one of the reasons. Um, Money, of course, money is a reason. Some women can't take care of themselves alone, or and that not necessarily permanently, but for the time being, they don't make enough to live on their own. They don't feel like they make enough to live on their own. They might not have skills. Um, Yeah, they may even men who make a lot of, and this goes for men who make a lot of money and men who make a little money because it doesn't matter. As long as you make more money than she does, you might have the upper hand on that relationship. Um, so yeah, there are lots of people who have been married for years, decades, okay, whose husband is maybe physically abusive, maybe emotionally alienating, mentally abusive, but the woman doesn't make any money. And even in those situations, sometimes the woman can make money, but she would rather put up with whatever she's going through than to go out there and make some money. Not me, child. But that is the situation. Um, what else? What else do women, why do they stay with abusive men? Mm, children. Sometimes they stay because of children. They want to have both parents in the household. Perhaps they did not have a father in the household. Or sometimes they did have a father in the household, but they want that core family life for their children. So they stay. Now, we all have our reasons for things, but I will say when you have kids, abuse is really that's really one thing you want to get away from, even if he's not abusive to the children, because the kids will see that. They will pick up on that, you know. Um, my first husband, he did share that his father was abusive to his mother. I don't know if it was like a long time or whatnot, but he did share a couple of instances where his father was abusive to his mother. So kids pick up on that. You don't want your daughters thinking that is normal. And you don't want your sons thinking that is normal. You don't want them becoming desensitized to violent situations. And then they repeat the situation and your daughter is getting bopped upside her head like that's okay. Or your son is doing that to his girl. It's not okay. I have four children. I have four boys. And the thought of one of them like, really physically harming a girl, ugh, it just makes me sick because you think about the girl, like, how that affects her life. If they had a child, how that would affect the child's life, and then you think about your child as well. You want them to make good decisions. You don't want them to do anything that could land them in prison or, getting killed by the woman or her brother or something like that. You teach your kids to be respectful. So, keeping your family together for the sake of the kids, that ain't it when violence is involved, when your man is just abusing you. Okay, let's see. Um Loneliness or companionship. That's a reason why women stay in abusive relationships as well. Because one thing women like is to have a man, and sometimes they'll rather have half a man, a quarter man, than no man at all. And that is as simple as that. They just like having a man, so they put up with the BS. What's another reason? Low self-esteem, of course. They may feel like they cannot do any better. Now that is kind of like a small town mentality. Perhaps that's all you know right now. But you know what? I shouldn't say this. As a Christian woman, I should not say this, but sometimes it does ring true. The quickest way to get over someone is to get under somebody else. I don't recommend that because, like I said, I'm a Christian woman. But, sometimes you just got to realize that there are other options out there. That's not the only man that's going to love you, and every man is not going to bop you upside the head. In fact, that is the minority. I believe the minority of men do the bopping. That's not a normal that's not a normal thing. My current husband, we've been married for how long has been married? This year will be 18 years, I think. He's never bopped me upside the head. Actually, I don't even think he's really raised his voice at me. But who's to say he won't try it one day? If he did try it, I got money, so I can go. I can get hell on. I got money and I have skills and men like me. Never got a problem getting a man. So there's that. If I wanted one, I might just stay single because dudes are crazy and ain't nobody got time to be putting up with another man's foolishness. And everybody has their own issues. So those are all the reasons I think women stay in abusive relationships. Fear too. Uh-huh. Sometimes they are scared to leave. And that is a real situation. But the reality of that is if you are fearful of your life, like if you feel like he will find you and kill you because you left, you're already endangered by being with him. So either way, your life is at stake. So you might as well do what you can to protect it and get the hell on. Um, with my ex, after I stabbed him and whatnot, after our little situation, I was able to move. I went back home, went back to my family, and I stayed there for, I don't know, like a week or two. And then I moved into another apartment. I did not tell him. I didn't talk to him at all. So he didn't know where I was at. Um, I changed my job hours and department. So he wasn't able to get in contact with me that way either. And that was that. You have to disappear sometimes. Whether you have to move across the country or wherever, you have to disappear sometimes because men do be crazy. And sometimes they will try to end your life. Just like that guy that was recently, did he die? I think he died. The one that killed like 9 of his children, all 9, 8 or 9 of his children, and shot 2 of the kids' moms, 2, the 2 kid, his 2 baby mama's child. Um, he killed those kids, shot those women because his wife threatened to leave him. So that was a real concern. And if you know that that man is crazy like that, you need to disappear. You better pack those kids up in a car, drive to Canada, baby. Drive to wherever you got to go. But you need to go underground until that threat is over. Maybe it's never over. I don't know. I guess that's the risk you take in love. John Malvo. Do you all remember John Malvo? And what was the man's name that he was riding with? Whatever that man's name was. That was Muhammad. Something Muhammad. John Muhammad? No, John Malvo and the Muhammad man. The Muhammad was like his stepdad or something, but they went around shooting all these people around America to and the end goal was to kill his ex-wife. I don't even know how long they had been divorced, but that's what it was. He was coming for his ex-wife. She's over here living wherever she was living. I want to say he came from somewhere down south, come up to the north, and doing school shooting, just random stuff, very random murders they were committing. And the end goal was to take out his ex-wife. What could she do to prevent that from happening? Nothing. Do you think had she stayed with him, that would have stopped him from harming her? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And she better be glad. I know she's glad that the police found him before he got to her. Unfortunately, he took out several people in efforts to get to her, but she still had her life. And that is a blessing for her. But, people are crazy. And sometimes your life is really at risk. So it is a real fear, but you're no safer to stay with them. Okay, so we got the fear, low self-esteem, money, loneliness, shame, ignorance, fear of being alone, um, fear of the unknown. Maybe you just don't want things to change. Things are how they are, and you're okay putting up with it. You don't like change. Ay, ay, ay. This world is what the world is. And Domestic violence, violence in general, it's a part of our lives right now. So, you do the best you can. I recommend for women to always have a way to earn some money. Always. And I'm not even gonna say that. You know how the old ladies say, well, you always got your pocketbook. If you know what the pocketbook is, I don't recommend that. Push come to shove. Push come to shove. You might have to make something shake. No, trust in God. That's what you do. You trust in God and you follow what God tells you to do, and you'll be all right. He will bless you. He will bless your efforts. So that's that on that. Just I pray that everybody who is in that situation finds the strength to move on, have some family, have some kind of support system. Look, even on Facebook, there are people who are a part of organizations and whatnot who will help you and your children go underground for a while. And that man might be crazy enough to find you, but again, you were no safer staying. At least you tried, child. At least you tried. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. And men, do right by your women. Don't just be bopping them upside the head. That's not okay. Get you some help. If that is how you grew up and that seems normal to you, or if it's not how you grew up, if it's just in your inclination to force a woman to do something physically or reprimand her physically, abuse her financially, any of that stuff, get you some help. Because we're all imperfect. We don't expect, well, no, women do expect perfection out of men. It's not going to happen. We all have our faults. Some women will piss you clean off, popping off at the mouth, and expect you to not do something. Don't do something. I'm just saying, women will get on your nerves. Get you some help. Leave her alone. Don't resort to abuse. Your peace and your freedom is very important. So protect your freedom at all times. Deal with your anger issues. And that's it. Again, trust in God. Follow what He says. You'll be all right. He will bless your efforts. All right, y'all. I gotta get to working. I'm making some of these notebooks because I make notebooks. That's what my side business. See, look, these are patches for my nurse notebooks, and I'm making them on my embroidery machine. Um, this is one of the first books I made. I made this for myself. My name may or may not start with a Q. That's my business. Don't worry about that. You need to know my real name. But this is that's my business. That's what I make. It's one of my businesses. I'm always up to something. Just gotta make a little money. Make a little money, okay? Can be asking my husband for money. I don't do that. I'm a working woman. All right, y'all. Well, I'm getting off live. I'm getting off live. What time is it? That's 11:33. Chat ain't talking about nothing. What y'all talking about? I'm over here in my room whispering. Had I done this while the kids were at school and the hubs was at work, I wouldn't be down here whispering. But this is where we are, alas. You know what? I might as well stay on here. Cause I'm not doing anything else. Nobody else down here talking to me. Shoot. Let's see. Let me turn on a movie. Turn on some music or something. While I craft. It's so funny. Ugh, I'm tired. Oh, it's late. I need to go to bed. It's hot in this room too. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I don't even feel like getting up. Ugh. Uh, you know what? I need to end this and restart.